Hey y'all, I'm Cece, and today I am here to share with you the last book haul, for me, of 2021. I maintain that we skipped minimum 3 months this year. Just, they didn't happen. Period. So it is very near the end of the year, and I have some more books that I have been collecting, that I have been buying myself, and that people have been sending me, and I am going to share those books with you today. I'm very excited. I have a bunch of queer graphic novels. I also have some 2022 releases. Very thrilled to be, starting to rack up some early copies for next year. So welcome to a little cozy corner of my room. I thought I would bring you with me, cuddle up with maybe a warm drink, and let me tell you about some of these books. In case you don't know, Book of the Month is an online subscription service where you can get brand new and sometimes early release hardcovers sent directly to your door. So for example, if you wanted to check out Book of the Month's December selection, you could get the Holiday Swap, which is a contemporary romance about twin sisters who decide to switch lives for Christmas for very specific reasons. Olga Dies Dreaming, which sounds like an expansive family story about Olga, her brother, and her mother. It's set in New York in 2017 alongside the events of the hurricane that happened in Puerto Rico, and it is involving those events but also following this family as they've emerged into privilege and not really dealt with maybe where they came from. Somebody's Daughter, a memoir about a girl growing up with a father who has been incarcerated and dealing with being a black girl in poverty and what that meant for her. A Flicker in the Dark, which is a lyrical thriller following a psychologist when a disappearance happens that has a lot of similarities to one that happened in her youth. Or A History of Wild Places, which sounds like a creepy, magical book about a commune, disappearances, a creeping illness, and some kind of dark fairy tales. In addition to their regular selections, Book of the Month also sometimes has add-on selections. For example, this month, The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green is an add-on selection. This is a nonfiction book about John, about the kind of quirks of humanity and about himself. It's a collection of essays that I think sounds super fascinating. Personally, I am really in a switching places romance kind of mood, so I'm feeling like the Holiday Swap is at the top of my list, but these are the December Book of the Month selections. So next up, I have a variety of graphic novels that I want to share with you. So I have these two, which I got secondhand. Princeless, Save Yourself. This is by Jeremy Whitley and M. Goodwin. It used to get recommended to me all the time because it's supposed to be one of those really charming adventure comics. It's about a girl kicking ass, and I think it looks adorable. It's been recommended alongside a bunch of other wonderful queer graphic novels that I've recommended in the past that I've loved. I don't know if this in particular is queer. Regardless, I think it looks like a super fun story, and I love all things fantasy and fabulous. And at the same time that I got that, I picked up volume 4 of Goldie Vance. I have actually only read the first volume of Goldie Vance. I read it from the library roughly 1 million years ago. But I absolutely loved it because it's got this very Nancy Drew vibe. It's set in the 50s in Florida, and it's about this biracial queer girl who really wants to be the detective at the hotel where her father works. The first one was a lot of fun. I really want to own it. I know I'm going to like the rest of the series, so I saw this and it was on clearance at Half Price Books, which means it was only $5, and just decided that it was a perfect time to add it to my collection. And these other 3 graphic novels, I got all of them at the same time. I happened to get a chance to go to Emerald City Comic Con, which is the Comic Con in Seattle, pretty close to where I live. I only went for 1 day. I randomly got the chance to go, and it was amazing. I got to meet Ngozi, who writes the Check Please books, and I got the book signed, and I almost cried, and it's fine. I'll talk about it another time. But while I was there, Oni Press had a whole little stand, and so I grabbed a few books because it was 20% off if you bought from them at the con. So we've got one that I've read before, and then 2 that I haven't. I've got this beautiful hardcover of Mooncakes. This is by Wendy Zhu and Suzanne Walker, and I believe this cover might be by Jomette Gill, or maybe Jomette did the color work. I have read Mooncakes before. In fact, I even have a copy. It's a paperback copy. But As much as I have shown off this copy, most of you may not know that this isn't a finished copy. This was an ARC that I got at BookCon. So the first few pages are in color, but the rest are not. They don't have any color, and they even sometimes have like action lines drawn on. But I love this copy so much. It's even signed by Suzanne and Wendy because they were there at BookCon. So I knew I wanted a finished copy so that I could see all of the gorgeous finished art. I decided to go for the hardcover because it has a slightly different cover and, you know, I can mix and match. Plus, I thought this was so wonderful, it came with a little signed book plate. So, my new copy is still going to be signed. This is about a teen witch she lives in this, like, coffee shop slash bookstore magic shop with her grandmothers. And then one night she's out wandering and comes across her childhood crush, Tam, who turns out a werewolf. And the two of them get to kind of reconnect. They're dealing with stuff in Tam's past, but also this is just about Nova and Tam kind of reconnecting as friends, falling in love, and having this adorable, loving, welcoming family. It's queer as hell. Oh, I actually love this. You can actually see her hearing aid on the cover of the book. Tam is non-binary. The entire cast basically is Asian. It's such a delightful story. I'm so glad that I own a finished copy now, and I can kind of display these together. Also at Oni Press, I got Cheer Up, Love and Pom-Poms. This is a comic that is about two friends, I believe a cis lesbian and a trans girl who she's sapphic. I'm not sure if she's a lesbian or not. Basically, the two of them used to be friends. They're not friends anymore, and now they're on a cheer team together, and so this is about rekindling their friendship. BB has transitioned since they were friends, so she's lived through a ton of stuff that they have to reconnect with, but also there's kind of a romance element, and I will take any queer sports book, Then, if you make it a queer sports graphic novel, I'm even more interested. And then you make it sapphic, and then you make it cheerleaders, it's like, it just keeps getting better. Also, this came with a signed book plate as well, which I thought was so cool. I had no idea until I got home. Gonna slide some things around. The last thing that I grabbed from the Oni Press booth is a quick and easy guide to queer and trans identities. I had heard of this at several points. There are a few different little graphic novels like this that have been released by Oni Press that I have heard just like incredible things about. This is a topic I already know a lot about, but it's something I'm always trying to learn more about, especially as a cis lesbian and someone who speaks a lot about queer stuff on the internet. So I wanted to get this, read it, and then hopefully I'm going to be able to get a couple of the other books that were released as part of this like collection. I'm trying to think. I know there's a quick and easy guide to they, them pronouns, which is cool. There's another one as well that I'm not remembering. I'll put it up on the screen, but I really want to read it. I just think that it has, like, really bright, lovely illustrations, and I've heard great reviews. So next we have the secondhand stack of regular titles that weren't comics. So these first couple I got at Value Village. I don't know a ton about them other than the fact that they're on my Goodreads TBR. Like, I must have had a very compelling reason to add them at the time that I did, but time passes. So there's A Memory Called Empire, which I remember talking about specifically because I believe it's sapphic high fantasy. It's a space opera. You see, you know what? The brain is a fascinating thing. Space opera about a person who goes to take over a post, finds out that her predecessor has died, and no one really cares to investigate why. And also no one seems to care that she might be next, so that's probably concerning. I'm like 97% sure that this is sapphic, because I'll be honest, when I read the flap, none of it makes any sense, so the only reason I would have added this is if someone else explained the plot to me, and then they were like, and also girls kiss, and I would have been like, okay, now you've got me. We've also got, this was such an interesting find, I couldn't believe this, the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. I know almost nothing about this except for the fact that I'm sure it's going to be very tongue-in-cheek and funny, and also it's going to be about slaying vampires and being very Southern. I have read a book by Grady Hendrix before, and I hated it, but things aren't set in stone. He could turn it around. He could turn it around. My Best Friend's Exorcism. Oh my God, I could not stand that book. I just said all that and then read the author's note, and it turns out this is set in, like, the same neighborhood as My Best Friend's Exorcism. Okay, the other thing that the author's note says, though, is that My Best Friend's Exorcism was written from a teen perspective, and that's why all the adults were so annoying and terrible, and I'll admit that was a huge thing that I had. It was just, like, it was so weird. I was like, who are these people? And that he specifically wanted to set out to write a story about parents seeing their kids fall to evil and what that looks like, which is a topic I'm much more interested in, especially given how heartbreaking some recent television has been that I've consumed that is about parents watching their kids fall to a particular type of evil. So, fingers crossed that this won't be bad. The last stack that I have in terms of, like, secondhand are books that I purchased from someone on Facebook Marketplace, if you'll believe it. I was looking through selections of books, as I sometimes do, and they happen to have a collection of queer titles that are older or slightly harder to get access to, or you just don't see them in bookstores. Here we go, got those. And then I also got one book from them that is not queer at all, but I think it looks cool. That book being Fear. First of all, cover. Like, this is a psychological book, about a guy who grew up with a dad who seemed violent. It seems like that's the implication. Like, the main character was always kind of waiting for the day that his dad would become a mass murderer, and now this guy is grown up, he's married, he has a wife, and everything seems normal until his wife meets the man that he's keeping in the basement. Tell me that doesn't intrigue you. Okay, now on to the 5 queer books that I got from Facebook Marketplace. These are books where I probably only know a few things about them, but I'm interested, I want to know more about them, and, like, part of what I do daily is talk about queer books, so important, I think, to have some stuff in my collection, such as I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson, which, believe it or not, I have never read. This was part of, like, the early YA, like, queer YA craze, where all queer YA was about gay boys exclusively, so I didn't really reach for a lot of that. However, this is a super celebrated piece of, like, YA fiction, and it still remains one of the most popular queer YA books of all time. So I know this is about siblings, and I believe one sibling is talking from the future and one is talking from the past, and so we're kind of moving inwards slowly to find out whatever happened to make them stop talking to each other or fight. So they're twins, now they're not talking, we're slowly trying to figure out why. And Noah is gay and he meets a boy. I've never been crazy about this cover that has the quote on it instead of the title, but it was one of those situations where the whole stack of books was only a couple of dollars, and I honestly have no guarantee that I'm gonna like this book, so maybe it won't matter, you know? We've also got Love and Other Carnivorous Plants. This was, like, I used to talk about this book on my channel very early on. This is set during college, so it's college YA, and it's specifically about a sapphic girl with an eating disorder, which are the things that drew me to it, because college YA and YA dealing with eating disorders and queer YA dealing with eating disorders, very, very short list. I don't know if this is any good, I just know that I'm interested in reading it. We've also got Kaleidoscope Song. This is by Fox Benwell, and I grabbed this because I know Fox Benwell. Actually, I didn't. I think that this specifically... So actually what happened is that I sent the list of books that I wanted to the person on Facebook Marketplace, which was these 2 and then 2 more I'm about to show you, and they responded, and their message was essentially, this is also gay. I don't know if you know. If you know, that's fine, but if you don't know, it seems like there's a theme to what you're purchasing. I was like, honestly, called out. Yeah, I'm buying gay books. Throw it on the stack. So, Kaleidoscope song is actually a lot darker than I think the cover would lead you to believe. I'm going to have to go into this very prepared. I will leave everything listed in the description below if you would like to check it out. Just know that this doesn't seem like a happy-go-lucky story. It's definitely one dealing with very intense topics of assault, sexuality, and it's gonna be an intense one whenever I get to it. Speaking of intense, The Meaning of Birds by J. Robin Brown. This is about a girl who is like super angry all the time, and then she meets this girlfriend who she loves, and she's finally starting to settle, and then through tragic circumstances this girlfriend dies. So this is a book just dealing with her grief and her rage and the fact that all of her coping mechanisms from when she was dealing with her dad's death are coming back now that she's lost this girl who had her on a path of healing. I was excited about this when this book was announced, mostly because when the cover was released, we were all pretty psyched about there being a butch girl. Like, I was really curious about this one, and I've always loved the color scheme, and honestly, butch girls. Give me butch girls! That's it! And the last book from this stack is The Bright Ciders by Jen Wilde. So this is the second Jen Wilde book in my collection, I believe. I have Going Off Script, but the only book of Jen's that I've read is Queens of Geek, which I don't own. Tragic. But Queens of Geek I love, so I keep, whenever I see another of Jen Wilde's books, I pick it up because I know it's going to be charming and queer and lovely. This is about a girl who's in a band. She is, I believe, a drummer, and she is kind of perpetually messing up, perpetually doing things to throw her life into further disarray, including the fact that she's drinking. She's trying to get back on the straight and narrow, so to speak. She's trying to get back in the good graces of fans, try to live her best life. The thing is, she's definitely falling for her bandmate Alfie. The two of them are together all the time, and there's concern that maybe all this obsession is going to lead to further tabloid issues. So this is about a girl who has a romance with a genderqueer love interest. And I love any book about characters who are musicians or who are in a band. It makes me really happy. I have two books that I was sent, which were released at the tail end of 2021. So we have, which would have been released first? Our Violent Ends by Chloe Gong, which I talked about in my last video, I believe, because I got an ARC of Our Violent Ends, but now I have a hardcover. This is the second book in a duology that is a 1920s Shanghai set retelling of Romeo and Juliet about dueling mob families. I've heard incredible things. I have both books. It's very exciting, and now I have a hardcover, which is even more exciting, genuinely. This arrived like the day after the book released, and it was completely unexpected, so it was genuinely pretty exciting. And then I was also sent a copy of The Coldest Touch by Isabel Sterling, because I did a thing for this on Instagram. I, celebrated the release. The fact that I get emails about the potential to support books that are about lesbian vampires is something very special to me. Can't even imagine explaining to myself that concept in my youth. First of all, she'd be like, why do we know about lesbians? So this is about a girl who has this ability to, it's a curse really, when she touches people she sees how they will die. So she's kind of forced to know how everyone around her is going to die all the time. And then she is paired up with someone who is going to kind of teach her a bit more how to deal with her gift so that she can see a bit into the veil. And this person is going to be a lot easier to work with because they're never going to die. Two girls, teen vampire, teen, psychic, and the two of them bond over having kind of devastating powers, but also being able to be together. This concept is so good. I can't get over it. Y'all can't even see the top of the stack anymore, can you? The last three books that I have here are all early copies. These are all books that are being released in 2022. Let's go in order of release, make it fun, huh? So first we have Fire Becomes Her. This is by Rosie Thor, who wrote, I can't get to it, it's too high up. They wrote Tarnished Are the Stars, which is like a steampunk sci-fi, political intrigue, queer found family. It's all very good. I loved it a lot. And Rosie reached out and asked if she could send along this copy of their book, which is being released in February of 2022. First of all, this sounds amazing because it's fantasy, but also there's a queer platonic relationship at the center of this book. The only other book ever that I have heard of that uses queer platonic relationship or mentions that is If It Makes You Happy by Claire Kahn. So this is political. It's about a girl with the power to topple possible empires. It's about someone who is going undercover trying to get something done, and there's a queer platonic relationship, and this was so sweet. Rosie signed it. Makes me so happy, especially after how much I loved Tarnished Are the Stars. So, in March of 2022, we have Kiss and Tell by Adib Karam. Adib wrote Darius the Great Is Not Okay. One of my favorite books ever written. And this is about a queer boy in a boy band and the pressures of that, which is a concept not only that I've read before, but also, like, I've obsessed over before and want more of. So the main character of Kiss and Tell is gay, and he is on the first North American tour with his band, and he's kind of struggling with how he is supposed to be the perfect queer representation for teens. Like, is he supposed to follow his label's plan? Is he supposed to be who he is? Does he allow it to get messy by dating another member of the band? All of these things are very good. I have talked about the fact that I love queer musician books, band books, all of these things, and I could grab a number of books behind me that I think are comparable to this, and the thing is, I've loved every single one of those books that I would grab to compare this to, so it's a absolutely incredible sign, and I'm sure that Adib is also going to somehow make me cry again instantly. And the last book that I have here is being released in April of 2022, and it is a college set sapphic YA written by wives. It's called She Gets the Girl. So this is by Rachel Lippincott and Allison Derrick. She Gets the Girl, written by wives. We'll never get over that. It's about two girls who are super different. They don't belong in the same universe, let alone the same college campus, as reads the back. One of them is apparently a flirt. She has just been dumped for such things. The other has a hopeless crush on this girl, but she doesn't know how to talk to her, and so a plan is formed. That Alex can train Molly how to flirt and be good at getting the girl, plus she can prove to her ex that she can help people without being a helpless flirt, and Molly gets the chance to go after her crush, which is great. So you know what, there are no problems with this plan, and no one is going to fall in love with each other other than the people they have planned, I'm sure. I'm absolutely positive that these two will not develop feelings for each other and fall in love. Alright, all that is it. Those are all of the books that I have acquired recently, and everything that I have to summarize the end of 2021. It's a mess, but it's a gay mess. Please let me know which of these books I need to get to first down in the comments below, and let me know how you are celebrating the new year. I would love to hear the ways that you are ringing in 2022. Other than that, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!